Hey everyone, today we're checking out the JBL Live Pro Plus, and these buds are packing basically every feature that you can think of, with the main ones being great app support and some nice bass heavy sound with some really nice clarity as well. Now in today's video, I'm going to be comparing these to a whole heap of buds, including of course the JBL Reflect Mini NC. So let's get straight into it. If you want to grab a pair, links are down below as well as timestamps, because as usual here, we're going in depth. So if you're picky with your audio, so am I. Let's get into another picky review. All right, starting with the design of the earbuds. Pretty simple here, just some basic smooth hard plastics all around the earbud with a bit of a reflective coating on the touch surface there. The indicator lights only flash when the earbuds are pairing, which is great. And overall size here, it's pretty compact, but more importantly, the ergonomics here are a massive improvement over the Reflect Mini NC. The fit on those for me were pretty uncomfortable, but the Live Pro Plus are just way better compared. Starting with ear tips, you've got 5 sizes included with that signature JBL orange on the inside, which does give the buds a bit of color. And if you do want to use SpinFit ear tips, they do fit on quite well and the buds do fit in the case. But I found the stock ear tips worked a little bit better, at least for me. Now, right out of the box, the medium tips are on the earbuds to start. And normally the medium tips work for me, but the fit here was honestly pretty terrible. The noise cancelling was really bad. The buds always budged out. So I went for the second largest size, which is a little bit larger than normal for me, but this massively improved the fit, the noise cancelling, and the sound quality. And I'm honestly surprised these fit so well, because the tips themselves are quite shallow and so is the driver shaft. And I just find for myself that a deeper fit works better for me. But for whatever reason, this shallow fit, security, comfort, some of the best I've ever tested. Because with that shallow design, these are incredibly comfortable. They don't have any of that suction feeling in the ear canal. I still get a little bit of discomfort after like 2 hours, but I just kind of find that happens with any earbud that I test. They're also incredibly secure. I feel like they shouldn't be this secure with the shallow fit, but I've used these when weight training, lying down for bench press, moving my head around, clenching my jaw through those harder sets. These buds barely budge. So if you're running, your CrossFit, any kind of training, you should be fine. Just keep in mind, all this explanation here is for my ear canals. This could be different for everyone, but I feel like this fit should work for most ears, even if you do have some smaller ears as well. Also, if you like to use your earbuds when training, these have an IPX rating, so fine for sweat and splashes of water. You just can't submerge the buds in water. Now with battery life, you're getting an advertised 6 hours with the buds, 24 hours in total with noise cancelling on, 7 hours from the buds, and 29 hours total with noise cancelling off. And in my test at 70% volume on an iPad mini, I got some mixed results. I was actually getting more battery of noise cancelling on. I ended up running 4 battery tests and this is what I got. So it looks like you're getting the same, if not potentially a little bit more than advertised, which is great. You're also getting fast charge. So 10 minutes will give you an hour's playback on the earbuds. These can also wirelessly charge, or you can charge via USB-C with the nice orange cable included. Just keep in mind, it takes 3 hours to wirelessly charge compared to 2 hours, which is kind of expected when it comes to wireless charging. Now the case itself is very compact, just a little bit thicker than the AirPods Pro case here for reference. You got basic smooth hard plastics around, same as the earbud, which doesn't seem to get scratched too easily. I've been using these buds for about over a month now. I just chuck these in my gym bag and there's a lot of stuff in there, keys and whatnot, and no scratches to be seen. You've also got 3 LED indicator lights on the front of the case to let you know when you need to charge your case up. Also, the hinge is sturdy. Magnets are moderately strong. They should do the job, and it's very easy to take the buds in and out of the case. And when you do take them out, they connect nice and fast in under 6 seconds. Now let's talk about controls. As usual for JBL here, you can control everything except for volume, which you can jump in the app and add volume control, but you do have to sacrifice either your ambient control or your playback control. So not the best. They kind of follow on with what Sony does, which is fine, but I find it would have just been nice to get rid of voice assistant, because that's a hold on the left or the right earbud, and just switch that for volume control. And I know a lot of people just use voice assistant for volume control, but I personally just like to activate it on the earbuds. Apart from that, sensitivity is spot on. They work 100% of the time, and you do get a subtle beep feedback when adjusting all controls. And when you're adjusting between noise cancelling and transparency mode, volume is decreased slightly and you get a different beep for each one, which you can memorize. So even at max volume, you can hear the change that you are making, and this doesn't stop your music. It just brings it down a tiny bit. Nice little bonus feature here though is when you double tap on the left earbud, this will activate talk through mode. So it'll automatically bring your volume down really low, pumping the outside sound so you can hear someone talking to you, and it doesn't pause your music. It's kind of on in the background, so you can talk to someone and not listen to them and kind of hear your music in the background. But another option you have is just to take one earbud out of your ear, because these have in-ear detection, and that'll automatically pause your music. And if you have noise cancelling on, it'll also automatically switch on your transparency mode. So if you want to pause your music, talk to someone, actually listen to them, then you have the option there as well. And if you don't like in-ear detection, you can just jump in the app and turn it off completely. All right, onto connectivity, just Bluetooth 5.0 here. SBC and AAC, even though I couldn't find it anywhere, I jumped on my Samsung, went to the developer settings, and this was using AAC on there. So I can confirm this uses AAC and SBC. In terms of Bluetooth range, I got 25 meters away from my phone. That's outside in a nice clear open space. And I can get about 15 meters away from my phone, downstairs, upstairs, through 5 walls. There is no multi-pairing, but you can use the left or right earbud individually, and this does work in mono mode, so you can hear both audio channels in the one earbud if you're just using one earbud. Now, in terms of latency, you have some options in the app. So by default, the buds are set to audio mode, which is supposed to give you the best audio quality. And in my testing, I find it maybe gave you the slightest bump up compared to the other modes, but barely noticeable. I could really not, maybe like a 5% difference, we could say. And on this setting, there is the tiniest amount of latency on YouTube and Netflix, and if you're watching movies and that kind of stuff. So if you want to jump in the app, you can turn on video mode. This completely gets rid of the latency. It's barely any latency to be seen there, but just keep in mind your audio quality will probably just reduce by 5%, but it's honestly not too noticeable. So you could probably leave the video mode on and you'll be fine. You've also got a normal mode, which is supposed to provide the best connection. So sometimes you might be on a train or a bus or something, or in the city, and there's a lot of devices on. Sometimes Bluetooth devices can kind of cook out a little bit. So I can't test this. I'm still in lockdown, so hopefully this does work if you're in a busy environment. Now, in terms of gaming latency, there's only a slight amount. If you're into your casual gaming, you should be fine. But when it comes to like that real low latency, I tested out the video mode. I thought it would bring it down a little bit, maybe the tiniest bit, but I couldn't really tell. But anyway, I'll check on my latency test here so you can see it for yourself on both iOS and Android. And I'll also throw in my microphone test right after so you can hear that for yourself as well. All right, so here is a microphone test with the JBL Live Pro Plus in a nice quiet room. And this is what they sound like with a bit of crowd noise currently being played through my Edifier Bluetooth speakers. All right, so here we are in the outside world with the JBL Live Pro Plus True Wireless Earbuds. Currently on a pretty busy highway. It's quite noisy at the moment, so hopefully you can hear my voice well, and all the noise behind me is also getting blocked out. All right, before we talk about noise cancelling, a quick little drop on my Instagram here. If you want to stay updated with behind the scenes action of me, my audio ventures, link is down below. All right, on to noise cancelling. And quickly, how I test my noise cancelling, I jump in my car, sub is in the back, and I just crank some crowd noise, plane noise, train noise, cafe noise, anything to test the noise cancelling. And really good stuff here for the JBL Live Pro Plus. I'm chucking it in at number 5, tied with the SoundPEATS T2. That is a cheaper pair, but still, it's in the top 5, which is pretty decent anyway. So for the price you're paying, it's up there, but a noticeable improvement over the Reflect Mini NC. The noise cancelling on those wasn't too bad because the passive noise isolation from the ear-tips was really good, but they didn't really block out low frequencies, where the Pro Plus here does a much better job at blocking out like a train, a plane, or any like a car engine or something like that. It does a much better job at blocking out those low frequency sounds. And in the app, you can't adjust the strength of the noise cancelling, but you have a few options there dependent on the kind of environment you're in. And and I played around with it. I did find that switching it around maybe improved it by like 5%, but it really depends on the environment you're in. I'm just testing in my car, so it sort of remains the same because I'm enclosed in a certain space. So if you're outside, it might improve it slightly, but it's good to have some options there. There's also not too much ANC hiss. The cabin pressure is also quite minimal here, but there is no wind noise reduction. You can't turn it on in the app or anything. So if you're outside and it's windy, the microphones will pick up that wind noise and let a little bit in through your earphones. But a really cool thing I love seeing here is whatever last setting you had on, like say you always use noise cancelling, when you take the earbuds back out of the case, noise cancelling will automatically be on, and this is the same if you have it off or you always have transparency mode on. In terms of EQ shift though, like how the sound quality changes when you have noise cancelling on, there's about a 10% reduction in sound quality. You lose a little bit of punch in the bass, a little bit of an attack with your treble, and mids are just brought back ever so slightly. It's not a crazy amount, but for a $200 pair of earbuds, I expected maybe just a little bit less. But the transparency mode here is really solid. Some of the best that I've ever tested. So great for just environmental awareness. If you're going for a run or a walk or whatever, or even talking to someone in front of you in a crowded environment, it does a really good job. And like I mentioned, there's that talk through feature, which is a double tap on the left earbud. Turn that on. It's supposed to work better for conversations, but I didn't really notice a huge improvement. So whatever transparency mode you have on, it's still fine if you want to talk to someone in front of you. Now I touched up on the app through this video, but a couple of extra features I haven't mentioned yet is auto power off. So you can set a certain time. If you're not using your earbuds, you have no music playing, it'll automatically turn the earbuds off to save some battery, which is cool. You've also got some voice assistant settings, as well as check my fit, which I find kind of pointless, but I guess you can normally feel if the earbuds fit, but it's there if you need. And you've also got a Find My Buds feature. This works by just like kind of the earbuds will emit a subtle beeping sound, which you can hear if like you're in the same room, like the earbud fell behind the couch or something. So that works really great. Just don't have the earbuds in your ear when you press that on because it's very loud and doesn't sound very good at all. But overall, a really great app. It's very simple, but it works very flawlessly. And they've also got one of the best EQs in the whole true wireless world. And I'll touch up on that just in a sec. But let's talk about volume now, because at 100% volume, these go nice and loud. I rate them like an 8 out of 10. I still found myself, like if I really wanted to jam out, I was kind of hoping for another notch of volume there. And just keep in mind, this is only like on Spotify or just YouTube, not YouTube Music. The volume is pretty low for those. If you use Apple Music, I know that's naturally like 3 clicks louder. So if you use Apple Music, you should be fine. But if you do use Spotify and you want a little extra bump in the volume, I have a little hack, which I'll also tell you in just a moment. If you're looking for low level listening, you're not really getting it here at the lowest volume. Still a tiny bit loud. They almost get my bedtime certification though. But in terms of white noise hissing, with noise cancelling on, there's of course going to be a little bit, but with noise cancelling off, barely any to hear. Now onto the sound quality itself, and as usual, JBL is bringing you their signature sound with boosted bass, boosted treble, kind of boosted me. They kind of boost everything. They do a nice bass heavy sound really well. And this is basically what I wanted after reviewing the Reflect Mini NC. I kind of wanted the same sound, but with a much better fit. And that's kind of what the Live Pro Plus here is. And when I talk about the sound, this is going to be with noise cancelling off. So just keep in mind everything I say, you're going to get roughly like a 10% reduction in overall quality when you do have noise cancelling on. So the low end here hits nice and deep, and it's kind of bringing you the perfect bass head balance of punchy and boomy. If I was to rate it on my bass head scale, I'll give it like an 8 out of 10. So there are bassier pairs out there with a bit more of that subwoofer bass in your head kind of feel, but just a nice amount here to give more room for the mids and highs to come through. And considering this is a bit of a V-shaped sound, the mids are surprisingly really good. They've definitely been pushed forward to combat the boosted bass and the boosted treble, but not too much to the point of feeling too forced, which is normally the case with bass heavy sound. So this means you get nice clear vocals, even in pretty chaotic music. And the treble is kind of like the mid-range. It's been pushed forward quite a bit to combat with the bass there. And this is quite a sparkly treble response. It isn't incredibly direct. It doesn't have the best resolution, but it does work with the mid-range and the bass that you are getting here. So it's tuned well, so it doesn't get too harsh or piercing. Above 90% volume, maybe on some songs that are not mastered that well, you will get a bit of harshness with vocals or hi-hats and ride cymbals, but it's quite rare. I didn't really hear it too often. So overall, this tuning here, it's kind of like they've just kind of pushed everything into your ears, and it doesn't sound too fake at the same time. It's obviously not going to give you the most natural audiophile kind of sound. This is a bass heavy sound that JBL is known for, and they managed to do it really well with all their earbuds. The only downside is instrument separation is just just on the average side, and this is the same with Soundstage, but kind of expected when you have a bass heavy pair of earbuds. But like I mentioned before, you also have EQ customization, and one of the best EQs out there. It's incredibly easy to use. You can add as many bands as you want. You can save presets as well. It's very simple, but very effective as well. And like I mentioned before, the little hack, if you want to make these buds louder, it's really simple. I found just increasing the frequency. Just keep one band on the far left and on the far right, and chuck it up just past midway there. If you go all the way to the top, they can go incredibly loud, but you lose a bit of clarity and it doesn't sound as good. So just above halfway there, and this will increase your overall volume by like another 2 clicks. So at 100% volume, they distort a tiny bit, but if you want loud volume, you can get it like that. Now to explain the sound even further, I'm gonna run through my genre rating checklist. I'm gonna chuck up all my scores here so you can see. And look, if you go back to my Reflect Mini review, my Reflect Mini NC review, I gave some 10s there, some 9s. Even though the score is lower here, I still sort of prefer the Live Pro Plus. Keep in mind, my tastes change the more buds I test. These scores are just a rough idea of how this earbud specifically works with different types of genres. So you can look back at my other videos. It's not going to be like exactly to the point. But anyway, I will compare the Reflect Mini NC and the Live Pro Plus in just a second. So basically 9 out of 10s all around for anything electronic music. I brought Psytrance down a little bit because the bass can get a little bit overpowering, but again, keep in mind, depending on what you like, you can dial the bass down a little bit in the app, and this does sound a little bit cleaner. And 8.5s for everything else, because anything instrumentation comes through with nice clarity. Again, it doesn't sound too fake, which can be the case with bass heavy earbuds. So very nice balance of bass and clarity with the Live Pro Plus. All right, now onto the comparisons. Like I said, let's start with the Reflect Mini NC. First, in terms of sound, very, very similar. The Reflect Mini NC do have a little bit more like in-your-face sound, have a bit more authority. Everything is boosted a little bit more. You get a tiny bit more bass. Mids and treble are pushed forward a bit more, but the downside is with the Reflect Mini NCs, the treble does get a little bit harsh. I personally like the Live Pro Plus better, mainly with the treble being dialed back a tiny bit, but it still sounds really nice. But keep in mind, you can EQ either pair there, so they both have nice flexibility with the great built-in EQ. A big pro of the Reflect Mini NC though is that they have barely any EQ shift, mainly because the noise cancelling is pretty bad on it. It doesn't really do too much when noise cancelling is on. So this makes sense. It doesn't have as much of an effect on the sound quality. But comparing the two with noise cancelling on, the Reflect Mini NC do sound a little bit better. Noise cancelling off, the Live Pro Plus sound better. But if I was to recommend only one, it'd have to be the Live Pro Plus, mainly because that fit is just way more comfortable and they're almost equally as secure, even though the Reflect Mini have the addition of a wingtip. Now, compared to the Edifier NeoBuds Pro, these are a little bit cheaper, but when it comes to sound quality, it's actually really close here as well. So you get a bit more bass on the Pro Plus and slightly better clarity when noise cancelling is off. When noise cancelling is on, this isn't the case though, because the NeoBuds now sound better since they don't have as much EQ shift. And even with noise cancelling off, the soundstage and instrument separation is noticeably better on the NeoBuds. The noise cancelling is also slightly better on the NeoBuds. Transparency mode, slightly better on the Pro Plus. But in terms of fit, it's also very similar here. With my ears though, I did get a more secure fit with the Pro Plus. But both pairs have EQ customization. You do get a better app on the Pro Plus and more control options. So a lot to keep in mind there. The NeoBuds Pro are definitely a solid option if you're looking to save a little bit of money. Now, compared to the Samsung Galaxy Buds Pro, pretty similar price here. Sound quality is just, it's a different experience in the Galaxy Buds. They're much more balanced. I'd rate them like a 5.5 out of 10 on the bass head scale compared to the 8 out of 10 on the Pro Plus. You can adjust the EQ on the Buds Pro, but only on Android devices, and it's not a proper EQ. It's just like a few presets, and most of them aren't that great, to be honest. They do have a bass boost EQ, but when you have the bass boost on the Galaxy Buds Pro, the JBLs sound much better with even more bass. So if it's a bass heavy sound, the JBL Pro Plus sound a lot better, but the Buds Pro do have slightly better noise cancelling and slightly better transparency mode. And if you use the Buds Pro Plus with the Samsung device, you get a lot of extra features specific to Samsung phones, kind of the same how AirPods Pro work on iPhone. The Pro Plus have a much better fit, especially when it comes to security. The Buds Pro, I found for me, came loose quite easily. So overall win, I'd say go to the Pro Plus. Unless you use a Samsung phone, then you might want those Samsung specific features. Now, compared to the One More ComfoBuds Pro, a pretty popular earbud at the moment at a relatively budget price, They are bringing you much more balance with their sound signature. It's just smoother tuning overall. Noise cancelling in ambient mode is very close, just slightly better on the Pro Plus. But the fit, at least for me, is much better on the Pro Plus. And the app is much better on the Pro Plus as well, since there is no EQ customization to be seen on the ComfoBuds. Just keep in mind, the ComfoBuds are half the price though. And last comparisons here, comparing to some bass heavy earbuds, Jabra Elite 75T, still my number one when it comes to that bass head certified sound. And a close second to them, we have the SoundPEATS H1. And to put it into numbers, Jabra giving you like a 9.5 out of 10 on the bass head scale. The H1 also like a 9 out of 10, where the Reflect Mini NC and Pro Plus, I'd rate them about 8 out of 10. And you can of course EQ both JBL earbuds there, but you still won't be able to get that deep subwoofer bass response that you are getting on the 75T and the H1, but they can come very close. All right, I hope those comparisons helped you out there, but to wrap it up here, the only real faults to keep in mind is that slight EQ shift and the lack of volume control. Apart from that, there's not really any other faults. You get a great fit, great sound, great app, so it's definitely worth it if you're looking for a nice all-rounder earbud. All right, that wraps it up for today. Thanks for tuning in. If you are interested in a similar earbud at a cheaper price, I'll chuck up my Edifier NeoBuds Pro review up, so be sure to check that out. But in the meantime, stay tuned, and of course, stay picky with your audio, because life's too short for crappy sound. See you in the next video. Bye now.